Hello and welcome to Africa Today. I am Mike Okwoche. Football can be a very exciting game, but part of its popularity in Africa is as a result of its accessibility. That is, unlike many team sports, it does not take much money or great resources to play football. Everywhere you go in Africa, you'll see young boys kicking around a football. Sometimes the ball will be made of plastic bags with string wrapped around it. Other times it will be made of crumpled up papers. As long as it can be kicked, there'll be a game. In 2003, Search and Groom got the ball rolling in Ayaebene, a suburb of Lagos in Nigeria, characterized by crime and poverty. Through its commitment to football and education, the organization offered hope to the neighborhoods around residents, building their confidence and awareness and giving structure to their lives. So we ask, how well do you think football can help redefine a country? You can share your thought with us on Twitter at TVC Africa Today. A report to launch the show in Africa Today will continue. Thanks for joining us.
After a two-week-long tournament, the curtains were finally drawn on the third edition of the Under-15 Jagaban football competition, an annual grassroots tournament meant to discover and promote talented young footballers. The grand finale, which took place at the Bagada Roundabout Sports Field, drew distinguished guests as well as spectators hungry for good soccer action. The event opened with a third-place match between Real FC of Ikpoyi Ogudu and Great FA Club from Lagos Island, with the latter emerging victorious 5-3 in a penalty shootout. Thereafter, the much-awaited game between Maradona FC representing Ijai local government area and Lakeside FC from Bagada kicked off with much excitement. The debuting Maradona FC, however, defeated their popular opponents equally via penalties to claim the coveted trophy. Meanwhile, APC Lagos gubernatorial candidate and sponsor of the third edition of the tournament, Akinwumi Ambode, vowed to continue to promote grassroots soccer and sports in general in the state.
Yomi Kuku has a special interest in the area of sports, and he has promised to contribute a very strong quota to sport in Lagos and transform the Lagos state sports. If we can be encouraged by this and some of our stakeholders to emulate from this, I think we see the future of sport in Nigeria entirely and in Lagos State.
Till the next season of the annual competition, teammates and coach of Maradona FC will savor their sweet victory.
Right, without doubt, football is the most popular sport in the world. Indeed, it is probably the most popular sport in every African country. Football was introduced into Africa more than 100 years ago by the British, but this round leather game has shaped countries irrespective of their race, class, religion, or ethnicity. Now, today on the show, we have Yomi Kuku, the Executive Director of Search and Groom here in Lagos, Nigeria. You're welcome to Africa Today.
Nice to meet you.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
All right. And later on, we'll have Nnamdi Okosieme, a sports analyst based in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. He'll be joining us on phone. Now, Yomi, let me come this way. Football has become like a religion, like a culture. How was it? Just a little, you know, a round leather game. How did it turn into affecting people's emotions, you know, and all of that?
Well, one thing you can take away from football in Nigeria is it's Nigeria's largest religion after Christianity and Islam. And you can always attest to the fact that it cuts across ages, religion, ethnicity, and all of that divides. But I tell you something, it becomes like a circle, like the opium of the poor people. And definitely, the middle class began to key into this much after, especially when the recession set in. Okay. You know, there used to be a time when you're playing football in Nigeria, it was more like for pleasure. And at some point, it got to the point where parents began to see football as for people who don't have hope in some other things. But later on, they began to discover the opportunities availing, you know, people through the game of football, especially when it became so extremely commercialized as we're seeing right now. For some of us, we feel that the commercial part of the game is somewhat, you know, reducing the impact of what the game represents. But that you can't take away from it because some people are real businessmen and they can really make money from anywhere, like late Otumba Gaddafi said. Money, you know, shit business is money, you know, serious business. So they can make money from anywhere. So naturally, but even at that, it's now a challenge for people like us working in the aspect of development through football. I don't mean football development. I mean education, people's development through football, to begin to tap into these hidden resources that we could add as a value, especially education, empowerment, and addressing issues around health, environment, and other social issues. And that's exactly people like us were doing with football, not necessarily wanting to be a part of the commercial process, which, I mean, you can't help it. We're all human beings. We have a right to do whatever we want to do, especially if it's within the ambience of the law.
Okay, now let's take it, let's narrow it down to the love of the game itself.
Yeah.
Now, the standards in Europe and the standards in Africa are not the same.
Definitely.
But the point there is, how much of impact is the passion for football having on the African continent?
Well, it's got a lot of impact, and one of the things I will tell you, I mean, I'm a bit political. Okay. I think my understanding is that politics and football go, you know, as a saying. Okay. The good thing working for Nigeria right now is that we did not qualify for the African Nations Cup.
So it's a good thing.
It is a good omen.
Why is it a good thing?
Thank you very much. In 1993, there was an election in this country that was annulled, okay, and the man who won the election tried to, you know, get his mandate, and people supported him. But as soon as the US 94 World Cup kicked in, you know, everybody forgot the man in jail. Actually. And they said, oh, we can watch football, we'll come back to it. You know, Barcelona, MQ Abiola can, you know, we'll come back, let's watch this game first. So we had to play against Greece, we played against people, I mean, Bulgaria. We also, you know, in the qualifiers for the US 94 World Cup. So we're busy watching, even at the point that Italy beat Nigeria in the second round of the US 94 World Cup. We were still dreaming, you know, like there was this rumor that went like wildfire all over that. Oh, they've disqualified Italy, FIFA disqualified them because some people had drug samples which they failed. I mean, they failed doping tests. Nevertheless, I tell you, that was a big distraction for us. And about the time we were watching the game, which was for a whole month, and that actually helped the then military government to be able to, you know, recover some of the lost grounds, and then they were able to recoup all this. And then at that point, the people could not really go back to the street to demand for the mandate. And that eventually ended the dream of that mandate. And you can attest to that. Now, in 2015, of our Lord Jesus Christ, we also need something to make as a huge contribution as a human being, as a people in this country, to participate in the electoral process. Now, because the football game is not there, so everybody's attention is on the election. It's going to happen in February. So you look at it, put it together side by side with the African Nations Cup. Apparently, we're going to be distracted somehow, somewhere. So it's good. Now we can face our problem without getting superficial about, oh, we can always be right. We can always get things right. So football does not in totality give us the kind of freedom. It doesn't in totality give us the kind of you know, affection or whatever we deserve socially. So sometimes it could be very, you know, distracting. So that's we've been able to conquer with the non-qualification. So it's a good omen. So,
okay.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this. Now, joining us on phone is Nnamdi Okwoche, a sports analyst joining us from Abuja, the capital of Nigeria right now. Nnamdi, it's good to have you on Africa Today. Now, the Nations Cup will be starting in days. What's your take when it comes to the level of preparation and the readiness for Africans to gather in Equatorial Guinea? Nnamdi, can you hear me? All right, we're having connection issues there, but however, we'll get Nnamdi online and then have him on. But let me ask you the same thing. Yeah. Everyone was upbeat with the fever of African Cup of Nations coming up, as the case may be. But what's your assessment when it comes to the preparation for the gathering, one of the largest gathering on the continent, especially when Equatorial Guinea had to do some fire brigade approach in preparation?
Well, part of the thing that I see about what CAF did was it was a big blunder giving it to Equatorial Guinea, for instance, because they were already under a ban, and that naturally undermines the rule of the game, you know, and that's not too good. Now, on the other hand, I also feel very sorry that a country like Morocco decided not to go ahead, despite all the,
but after Morocco turned it down one way or the other, or maybe it was stripped off that, no other country was coming to the rescue.
Yeah, because number one, it's going to take a lot of money, a lot of planning to be able to set this in rolling. And I think CAF was just to focus on the money aspect, the commercial aspect. There was an health issue. If Morocco is saying, give us some time, yeah, there's always a leveraging point for you to sit down, discuss, and agree on a date that could match up with the corporate objectives of CAF and also the country objectives of Morocco. So if they ask for like 3 more months, that would have been fine.
Okay. All right. I think we have Nnamdi right now on Nnamdi, it's good to have you on Africa Today. I was asking earlier on that the Nations Cup will be starting in few days. What's your take when it comes to level of preparation and the readiness of Africans to gather in Equatorial Guinea?
No, it's nice to be on the program once again, Dan. It's going to be an interesting, Cup of Nations, and what everyone is just keen in, where we should expect, something, grand, in terms of performance. But although on our side things will be a bit dull, I'm not getting the hang of it yet because Nigeria is not, going to be there. But that doesn't mean one won't be watching. But that said, I think we should be looking forward to an interesting tournament.
All right, now, how would you rate CAF when it comes to the administration of football and the politics of it on the African continent, when it comes to fairness and things like that?
No, well, I long gave up on CAF a long time ago, so you're like also asking me to just repeat myself again and again. I think we need a change, at that level administratively. CAF has been punching, way below its weight in terms of getting Africa, leveraging on the opportunities in Africa, the talents that are bound and all that. I think it's a miniature FIFA where you have a lot of rot and, a lot of sectarism, a lot of cronyism and stuff like that. I think the mirror image of FIFA, really.
Oh, now, Nigeria will not be at this year's Cup of Nations. How disappointed are you? Let me ask the question.
I think that you put it on a statement, you put it mildly, I'm disappointed. I'm mildly disappointed. For the first time, I'm not, I was just asking a colleague a few days ago, when is the Nations Cup starting? Before by now, I should be counting down, everyone should be counting down, but with the Super Eagles, absent from it all, it just takes the shine a little bit, from where I'm looking at it.
All right, now the issues with all the controversies with the NFF, do you think, what's the relationship between what happened with the NFF and Nigeria not qualifying? Some persons could draw the lines that there were linkages, but others felt there were no direct linkages between NFF issues and the game in the field.
Yeah, people have blamed Keshi for outstar from the tournament, but I think they missed the point really. Because, Keshi's contract, ended, with the World Cup, and any sensible, any rational organization or federation would have, taken steps to ensure that we had a coach. But, they were busy between the sports ministry and the NFL. They were busy, engaging a comedy of errors, and then we left what was undone. I think Keshi's problem, really, where I blame Keshi was in actually accepting to take the job at the time he did. Where it was clear it was a booby trap, and no sensible coach ought to have done that job. The NFF, should have been left to carry the can. But as it is now, somehow, because Keshi was not smart enough to see the trap that was laid for him, he fell right into it. I think I blame the NFF squarely for our start from the tournament.
All right. Before I let you go, all the big football names in Africa started from somewhere, at the grassroots, as the case may be. Now, how would you rate the attention given to grassroots football on the continent, or maybe specifically Nigeria, from your assessment?
Well, Dan, you know my position on this. I think in terms of grassroots, sport development, I use the word sports, not football. We're just not anywhere. Even some countries, countries like Burkina Faso, Senegal, are, even doing better than we are. But overall on the continent, we've not leveraged on the opportunities that we have. You see a lot of young stars, leaving the continent, going to Europe to excel. And then you leave, but here where we have the assembly line, it's not attended to. Things are going to rot. We were supposed to have under 13s, under 15s, but we're not getting, the sense that, there's a program, there's a grand strategy. to hire these guys so that once they move, it's just a question of, kicking them upstairs, as it were, from under 13 to under 15, and there you have it. So that's why, for instance, people would say we'll be having great stars at under 13 level, but where have they ended up? You understand? So I think we're not there yet, and we're not doing what we should be doing, and we need to do more.
All right, Nnamdi, thank you very much for joining us on Africa Today. Thank you. Right, Karl Marx once said religion is the opium of the masses, or the people as the case may be. But with Africa's love for the round leather game, critics have paraphrased by saying football is the opium of the people. And this is a clear testimony to the international importance of African football. We'll go on a quick break, and Africa Today will continue. Stay with us. Welcome back. Football in Africa is followed passionately from Morocco down to South Africa. And you'll know when an important football match is being played in Africa, because the country you are visiting will literally come to a standstill. We still have Yomi Kuku with us in the studio. Now, let's talk about a search and groom rather.
Yeah.
What gave rise to the idea of search and groom?
Well, I grew up in Ayaebene, so, and growing up there, I happened to be like from the middle class, and I had friends who were from the lower, and then we were very good friends. We were playing football together. Then afterwards, because I was in a boarding school, my parents could afford to send me to a boarding school, and it was more like we were the Ajabota, I mean, like they
at that level.
Yeah. So, and coming back every time, and then seeing some of them missing. I mean, some gone into crime and then maybe gone down by the police or on the street or whatever, And I started working after, coming out of that. I was working on TV with Lagos TV, and then they used to see me on TV and I talk sports and everything. So they had a feeling that I knew everybody I was mentioning, like the Manchester United chairman, Jesus, and then all the players I was mentioning. Like, no. And there was such a huge demand for my contribution. Then I felt, what should I give back to these people? Then something struck me, like they like playing football. Right. But I strongly believe that if you're not educated, there's no way you would have been able to move forward. You need to be educated, because that is part of the legacy my parents are giving to us. So I said, okay, well, we'll give you the game of football, what you love to do most, but we'll give you something back in return. Right. And if you embrace the game, you must embrace education. And that was how we started. Then at some point, we decided to say that not really all of them are so inclined to, going further with the educational level, not been measuring up. So we decided to also get some other people who could help in identifying some other talents, like vocational programs and all that. So I put up all these proposals together. And fortunately, one of the persons who helped so much to make this achievable works here at TVC. I'm talking about Tokunbo Ojekunle. Okay. Yeah. We sat down together and then came up with this blueprint to say that how we're going to be able to help people in Ayaebene to achieve the aim, and also able to play the game, because they love to play the game. So we started out, and in between, it was such a huge challenge, but thank God for the internet, and I was able to get people, speak with them from Europe and some other parts of the world, and I got to see that they play, the game for a purpose of addressing social issues. So I had to liaise with them, and then the connection started. And for the first time, we were able to key an alliance with the Street Football World, which is a network of organizations, and with the headquarters in Berlin, Germany. And then afterwards, we extended to the Homeless World Cup, which also is a network of organizations all over the world. And they were cooperating, and even up to now, they're still cooperating with UEFA, the United Nations, and getting support from corporate Europe. Through this, we were able to put teams together, delivering our services and educational programs around environment, education, health, and other vices which affects the community. And then that was the criteria for us to be able to select any of the players who could travel with us to Europe or wherever we had to go for international tournaments.
All right, now you've picked so many children off the streets. Approximately how many children have you?
That's so hard. You know, one of the things we've done, for us, we don't really highlight so much about the international opportunities around the exchange program, which we also run with the government of Germany and Czech Republic at some point before these Boko Haram insurrection kicked in, and which, you know, receded the whole process. Because, I mean, all the European countries virtually said no, they were not willing to send the citizens again. I mean, I will tell you, at some point we also had some of the interns who coming from Europe. They got married to some of our volunteers, Nigerians, and they now live in Europe. So it's not just a question of, you know, somehow we've been able to facilitate intermarriage. Yeah, so that also happened.
So whatever football has put together,
yeah, no one should put us on that.
That's great.
So, and with studies, and then we also observed that there were some who were playing very good football, but at the point that we met them, they were really very old. They actually wanted to reduce their ages, claiming to be underage. And, you know, for me, I don't believe in all those things. And
yeah, but in fact, you just mentioned it, that the issue of reducing age falsification.
That's
exactly. Why it seems to be very, very prominent or common.
Yeah, it's an element of poverty. What is going on in the land? You know, when there's the poverty of the mind, the spiritual, you know, it's very hard for you to have principled people. You need to have the grace to be able to summon that in your thoughts. It's going to take a lot. Some people are going to even look at you like stupid. I can't count the number of people who initially told me I was stupid, but today they don't see me that way any longer. Because, like, how does it put food on your table? You're just working for people. It doesn't make any sense. Well, for me, whatever I do, I'm fulfilled doing it. I believe in whatever I believe to do, and I want to do it the way I want to do it. So we call them aside, we counsel them, and I promise to support them beyond where I met them. And some of them we facilitated, you know, advanced coaching programs for them at the National Institute for Sports at Surulere, all expense paid. We did that for them, and they qualify coaches right now as I speak. And there were some who actually want to go into football, so we encourage them as well. But you see, the limitation for us has been that we've not been able to get the attention of the government as we deserve to get. Because when you look at the other countries also within this network, and you see how responsible their government is, either at the local, state, or federal level. I'm looking at a country like Kenya. I don't want to mention Europe. You know, Kenya at some point had a minister of that republic accompanying them to one of the tournaments in Denmark, the Homeless World Cup in Denmark in 2007. I felt so really ashamed and let down. But thank God that recently, because of people like Deji Tinubu, who is also a member of a board, he's really tried a lot to bring in support here and there. At some point, we got the support of Lagos State government, but we've not been able to build on that. But in the coming months, we've got some other programs that we're planning, that we're actually strategizing before coming into this program. We have something that we've given to the government of Lagos that's really going to key very well, and it will attract more people at the same time. Nevertheless, I can tell you that in the last 10 years, we've not reached less than 20,000 young people.
Wow, that's great.
State. Yeah,
that's really great.
Yeah, at some point, we got some funding from a corporate organization, and we had a lot of leftover, you know, so we were tempted to go to
leftover funds.
Yeah, funds. Okay. So we were tempted to go to.
I like leftover funds.
Yeah. Well, it's always very good and tempting. It could make you look stupid sometimes, to be honest, because I went on one adventure and I got my fingers burnt, and today I still regret a lot because we wasted a lot of money on that. We went as far as Oyo State, and we were trying to impress some people over there to tell them that we could do it. We can also put our money there. What we just want from you is, you know, step up the game. And afterwards, it just got us in between. So we had to retrace our step back to Lagos.
But the point there is, Search and Groom is known more internationally than even locally. Why is it like that?
Well, one of the things we've done very well was that prior to going international, we make it a point to know the players or participants we're taking outside of Nigeria. The first thing we are looking out for you is you're Nigerian, you feel proud to be a Nigerian, you can defend the flag with your blood, even if you're on the ground. And we create a self-belief. And that is, if you don't believe in this country, you don't have any business putting on the green and white. And we play like the national team of Nigeria. We take the street soccer team of Nigeria to international events, and then we put this belief in them, which we try to build over 2-3 years. And then when we go out there to play, we respect our opponents. In 2009, we were voted you know, by the UEFA, that is European governing body, as the best fair play team. We got the Fair Play Award of UEFA in 2009, and that was our biggest achievement. Because each time we go in there, we respect our opponent, win or lose. That's not the issue.
Okay. Yeah. Now, we don't have all the time. Now, before I let you go,
then let me also mention something. For all the years we've been going, for over 14 years, we've taken kids from Ajigunle, Agege, Ikpoyi, in the inner circle, poverty-ridden Lagos. We've never had any player abscond from camp. We'll go with 10 players, we'll return back with 10.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So that's our biggest achievement. So for me, if you ask me every time, what is the biggest, I say, well, I can't, because at some point I will tell you, the Italian consular officer in 2009, she never believed that nobody will come back. And everybody came back. Because on our visa...
Because these are children picked up from streets.
Yeah.
Who will see opportunities out there.
Yeah, and you know, on the visa page, they had to put like, all the players must be presented when we return back from Italy. And when we presented a woman, no, it's not possible. So,
all right. Now, finally, just in a few words, I like when you say you like politics. You're interested in politics, as the case may be. Now you have football on one hand, you have politics on the other hand, and Nigeria is coming up with elections in just less than a month. So, how can football contribute to that? You know, using political football, maybe.
Yeah. We actually developed something like a vote to score. That was a theme of a project that we planned to do initially. But unfortunately, the desperation on the part of everyone has really, you know, worked against it. So we had to rest the project. But afterwards, when government and everybody settles in, we'll sell this idea to them. We'll let them know the reason why they need to educate people to go out there to vote. You know, but fortunately, again, like I said, it's good we're not going for the Nations Cup, so everybody is concentrated on
Yomi Kuku, thank you very much for coming in Africa Today.
Thank you so much, Mike.
And we also thank Nnamdi Okosieme for joining us earlier on from Abuja. Now, in the past 20 years, African football teams and players have gained a solid international reputation. Now, today, more than 100 footballers from all over Africa play on first division professional soccer teams in Europe, South America, and in the United States. But most of these players are products of street football. Hence, Africa needs to cater for even the lesser man on the streets who knows that someday he will become the DJ Drogba, Samuel Eto'o, or even Yaya Toure. That's our show for today. Don't forget to join the conversation and follow us on Twitter at TVC Africa Today. And until the next one, I am Mike Okwoche. And don't forget, this is Africa. Bye for now.